Welcome to the first episode of Mental Wellness Podcast. This series basically aims to help people understand mental health more deeply. And as adults, we get a lot of experiences in our lives, and we really don't understand where to start from or what to do with certain situations in our life. And that's why we really need people like you to help us gain more clarity in this aspect. So, welcome to this podcast, ma'am.
Thank you, Parul. Thank you for having me. I really commend you for taking this initiative on, and I do know how passionate you are about spreading the message and getting people to understand more on mental health and how they can take care of themselves. And I'm happy to be part of this and contribute in any way that I can.
Thank you, ma'am. So, this entire series is basically focused on childhood trauma and the impact of childhood trauma as an adult, and how does parenting take a role in this particular shift. So, starting with a very important question in our lives, that what does trauma actually mean to certain individuals? It means like something extreme happened in your childhood that impacts you as an adult. To some person it might mean that it is the smaller moments that made us who I am today. So what exactly is the lineage of trauma, and how does it start, and how does it impact you as an adult?
Um, Trauma is the response to an event, right? It is our body's physiological and emotional response when we experience something. So it's coming from the Greek word, which actually means like a wound or something, and from the medical terms, even now, a psychological injury is also considered as a trauma. It's not just like a physical injury. So it can be something in terms of psychological injury which is impacting our mind, our body. It affects how we perceive ourselves, relationships. So this is what constitutes trauma, and on how we may experience it. And any event, how it becomes traumatic, it's very individual based, right? It is about how their subjective experience is to what is happening, how they are experiencing it. And a lot of trauma is rooted in what they say immobilization, right? A person feeling an incapability at that point to do anything about that situation, that makes a situation traumatic for them. So that's why when two people are going through same experience, one may find it more traumatic and the other may find it less traumatic. You talk about childhood, it could be the same way, that there is a household and two kids are there and both of them are having the same experiences, but one child has developed like a traumatic response, or it has impacted them in a manner that has become traumatic for them, whereas the other child is not traumatized by what is happening. So it is our subjective experience and how our mind body is responding to what we are experiencing. Maybe building on this physiological part, right? I think that is very important to understand in terms of how we are carrying this trauma, right? There are different ways we carry this trauma, like maybe in a cognitive way, in the physiological way, in terms of relationships, because all of these impact each other. Now, when we experience something which is traumatic for us based on where we are today, it begins to reshape your automatic nervous system response. I think that is the key over there, because when we experience something like a traumatic incident, our basic survival response kicks in and the body continues to be in that survival mode, and that's when you are stuck in that hyper arousal and you're unable to calm yourself down or deactivate your nervous system to maybe look at things from engage your other part of the brain. So the brain and the body is responding or getting stuck in a particular state, is how we carry that trauma over years with us. That's one way that anyone who's gone through a traumatic experience carries that trauma in terms of how the brain, the nervous system is responding to that, or the body gets stuck in that particular state where, let us say that we are in a hyper arousal. That means we may get into a flight or a fight response. When you are in a fight response, that means your body is preparing you for a combat. So there is it affects your breath, the shortness of breath, there is a lot of restlessness, there's all of those things that are happening, and you are releasing the hormones, cortisol, adrenaline. So it's a different kind of a response. Whereas in terms of a freeze response, then you're disassociating, you're going into a fatigue state, and the body is responding in a completely different manner. So that's how we carry that trauma within our body in terms of these responses. And this is like, then you are like a deer in a jungle, right? That's what I kind of describe it, right? So if you see a deer in a jungle, it may be on high alert all the time. It may be at the pond drinking water, but still it is on high alert all the time because it doesn't know from which direction the threat may come.
Yes,
So you're
that's
stuck
true.
in that state all the time. So you cannot just relax and, okay, let me just drink this water, not worry about the threat. That doesn't happen, right? So that's one way that we like carry the trauma. And a lot of times when it is coming, you talked about the childhood experiences. I think over there, this complex trauma is what it is called, right? The complex trauma is the trauma that you're experiencing, especially from your childhood, where there are repeated patterns, different things that are impacting you. And the thing with childhood trauma is that you may not even realize that you are experiencing that,
Yes, yes,
because it is so
absolutely.
normalized. Some of these things are like so normalized that you won't even, so it doesn't feel traumatic at all. You're like, yeah, I'm going about my life, I'm responding, I'm doing to things what I'm asking you to, I've been asked to do. It's only later that they start catching up on you in terms of the beliefs that you carry, either about yourself or about the people around you. So your thinking brain, so as I mentioned, right, you're constantly on stuck state of hyperarousal.
Yes.
Rational side, the thinking side of your brain is not working, right? It's later in the hierarchy. It's only when you're calmer is when your thinking side comes into picture and it's able to help you think through things, problem solve things. But if you're constantly on a survival mode, your rational side cannot engage with you at all. So
Absolutely.
these things are carried in terms of the beliefs that you carry about yourself or the belief about you, and you're not able to pause, to calm down, and to maybe question them, to see an alternate way of looking at situations, right? So that is another way, especially with complex trauma, things that have been happening in this very normalized way or through these childhood experiences that we carry within ourselves.
Yes, absolutely, ma'am. I think if there is a root cause that has started from your childhood and you have kept it, maybe ignoring or maybe, as you said, normalizing it until you turn into an adult, and you react to certain things in a very different way than you actually are supposed to be, and that's when it hits that is something going on inside of me, what's happening inside, and there are multiple questions. And with that dear example, ma'am, that is actually so true, because your mind is always trying to protect you, it's always trying to keep you engaged, that you do not fall into some negative situations again. So a lot of our energy goes into that thing only, to just save ourselves, to just survive somehow, to just get through the day. So these are the signs of maybe you need to take a step up and talk through it or do something about it. So when we talk about traumatic experiences, there comes a part of healing also. So when you have realized that yeah, some things might not have gone correct in my childhood, or it was difficult at that time, but as an adult you are acknowledging that. So what does healing actually look like for an adult, for a person? And I think more importantly, like, is it possible to heal from deep childhood trauma in life, or is there a point where you feel like it's too late, or okay, just let it be, just I'm going on with my life? But is there any sort of hope or healing? And healing is a continuous process, it's not just one size fits all, it's a long journey. So how do you explain healing to someone?
One of the questions that you had is healing possible? So I am, at least personally, this is my belief that, it is possible to heal, right? It is hard. It is not an easy process. It requires a
Absolutely.
lot of conscious, intentional effort to work on these aspects. But if that is there, definitely it is possible to heal, right? So as I said, it is how are we carrying trauma, the way it is stored in our body, the way it's stored in our cognitive mind in terms of the beliefs that we have. So the first step is becoming aware. A lot of times we even struggle, it's so normalized that we are not even aware that what I'm thinking about myself or what I'm thinking about people, there's anything wrong with that. So to get that awareness, whether you're able to get it from yourself, it is coming from a third perspective, maybe talking to a professional, it could be any source, right, that might kind of help you become self-aware. I think once the starting point is that self-aware, where you may say that, hey, you know what, I'm thinking very negatively all the time, right? Why am I thinking negatively all the time? Or my friends are tell me, hey, you're always like pessimistic. Then you wonder, okay, why am I always pessimistic? Why am I thinking negatively all the time, right? So maybe,
Yes.
and then you kind of start looking into this, how am I perceiving this situation that maybe thinking negatively? So you work on that cognitive side, right? So, and then at the same time, a lot of trauma is because it is stored in your body in terms of how your nervous system is, it is, and you are on that high alert, the threat perception is also very high, right? Like, for example, let's say that I think negatively about myself, that I'm not good enough. It could be from my childhood experiences, it could be from my previous job that I had, where I had like faced something. Now, then you tell me that, hey, Saujanya, this is like a feedback, and Parul tells me that, Saujanya, you have to improve on something. Now, I may, based on how I am, I may see that as very threatful, or she doesn't like me, she just is looking at the negative things for me, or I'm not good enough. Like, there's so much that you are experiencing at that point of time.
Yeah.
So working through that, right? So it is a combined work, trauma work, I do believe, and I've seen too, is a combined work where it requires you to work through your somatic sense, like work through your body to calm, to regulate that nervous system, to feel calmer, where firstly the perception of threat is reduced. You're able to then engage your rational side. You're able to be in the present, to process things from a better space. And that's when all of these alternative beliefs can be integrated, right?
Yeah. Yes.
So if this work is there, and it is definitely possible to kind of heal from this. It may take time depending upon the extent to which one is impacted or how severe they are experiencing that. But I do have the hope and belief that everyone can heal from this in their own time, in their own pace, to find their way forward.
That's a very beautiful and a hopeful thing to say. I'm sure a lot of adults would want to hear this, because with time and when we grow in our growing years, we don't realize a lot of things that has happened to us, and it gets stuck somewhere in your mind, in your body somewhere, and as you said, it can impact us physically also. So maybe some sort of frequent headaches, frequent back pains. Yeah, there might be some physical thing attached to it, but if you talk about our emotional health, definitely some kind of overthinking and staying anxious for a good amount of time is a message from our body to us that, hey, it's time to do something about it, or probably share it with a person, talk to a professional, and take therapy. Because again, therapy is such a stigmatized word today. Why? Because so there's a very beautiful line from a film, Dear Zindagi, which is one of my personal favorites. It says that when suppose you have a liver problem, so you go to a particular doctor. You have a heart issue, so you go to a particular doctor. But when you have a personal issue, an emotional issue, you think it's a shame to share with someone, because you feel that your mind or your brain is not a part of your body. So that taboo has to be destigmatized, and it might take few years to understand it, but I think it's very important we start talking about it. So ma'am, from your experience working with people healing from childhood trauma, there might be people who have stood up and came for help, for assistance, for guidance. So what, according to you, people should have known before they experience something traumatic in their life? So is there anything that you wish somebody knew, or any kind of mantra that they knew before experiencing that event?
So a lot of, there are various reasons why someone may experience an experience may become traumatic for them, right? It could be their biology by itself, that the nervous system is in such a way that the amygdala is more activated compared to their rational brain. So there's biological aspects. Then, but another one important aspect in terms of the trauma is what I talked about before, is that immobilization, where a person is not able to take an action. Working on that. If I know that in retrospect, it always looks different. You could say that, hey, when that person said something to me, I should have stood up, I could have stood up, right? I think come out of these, firstly, create space for what you have experienced. Don't judge yourself. Don't, beat yourself. Be compassionate and kinder to yourself. I think that's the first step in terms of like working towards any of this, right? Create space for your experiences and what you're going through. There's a reason why you're experiencing something. There's something that you went through in your life. And then understanding the work that you're putting in now, like we're talking about trauma, we are understanding the various ways we may perceive something, we may get impacted by it. With this understanding, trying to find those small ways, steps that you could take to come out of it. So next time when something like this is happening, like someone says something to me at work, I already know that maybe I'm perceiving more threat than what's happening, right? Or maybe I am looking at it only from my perspective, or maybe my childhood, my inner child's behaviors are coming up. So let me try to take a step back. Let me try to, calm, feel. So taking that conscious step to work on regulating your emotional state so that you're able to choose a response. So finding that agency, which is such an important aspect in terms of not being stuck in that trauma too, is to find agency that next time when something like this is going to happen, I am going to kind of try to work to the point where I'm able to respond. Let the body take action is what we say, so that my body is able to take the action to protect myself, to take care of myself, to stand up for myself, or to get out of that situation, whether it means like running at 100 miles an hour.
Right. Okay.
I do hope that I have answered your question. So essentially, is there a mantra specifically that, you can escape trauma? Maybe it is in an idealistic world where, no control over the biological aspect, so you leave it aside. But from an interpersonal aspect, I think when you go through an event, and the aftermath of that, you have a supportive space, someone who is able to validate your emotions, someone who is able to like be there for you, then automatically you are in a calmer state because the threat is not there.
Yeah.
Right? You
Yes.
find that safe space. So if you can at least do that to yourself, to calm yourself. When I said that, be kind, hey, it's okay, it's happened. So you're able to be that safe person for yourself to start with, and you're having that support system where someone else is able to do that for you. That's wonderful, right? And then, working through these childhood beliefs or whatever beliefs that may happen, even through a later period experience in your life, working on them so that you are able to not get stuck in those same thinking patterns, are able to find different ways of coming out of these limiting beliefs that may be there about yourself or about others. I think these are some of the things. Can you predict it before? Can you do something to not do that? Maybe self-love, being more kind to yourself, telling yourself that you're not the problem, telling yourself that you can handle it, finding ways to like get out of the situation. On theory it is all okay, but I think at that point of time it is much more harder to kind of do these things which are in that ideal space, because there's a history, there's a experience that you're carrying with you, there is a certain past that is impacting your present in these particular aspects, which you cannot ride away completely, right? Because all of it is not in your control. There are external factors that impact that.
Yeah, yes, absolutely true. I think you've perfectly explained the entire cycle of what events happen, and the very true part is you can actually not go away with it, run away from it, because no matter how much you try to get away from it, it will impact you, it will come to you, and sometimes the experience might be severe. So it's better to be kind to yourself. Firstly, be kind to yourself and love yourself enough to know what are your strengths, and it's okay to feel overwhelming sometimes. It's okay to feel anxious. It's nothing to really worry about. But whenever you feel like the situations there are a lot of things that are inside your heart, you have carried a lot of things for a longer period of time, it's time for you to take a step and definitely seek professional help, or first talk to someone you care about, you love, and most importantly, they understand you, really understand you, because today's definition of understanding is very different from what understanding actually is. So yeah, ma'am.
Just to add to that, right, in terms of a prevention, I think if there are a lot of people, because we started with talking about childhood experiences, I think to provide a psychologically safe space for their children, that can really help them in having experienced less trauma in terms of getting that validation. I think that is what you can start with, where you provide that psychologically safe space. Don't get stuck with short term things of that, hey, this has to happen, my child has to do this, my child has to do that, or we have to get first rank. I know these are important, and maybe there's a balance in terms of how you kind of help enable your child or empower your child to work towards these goals. But at the same time, being that person who is appreciative, who is of what they're doing, who is validating of their emotions, who is telling them it is okay if you're not doing well, right? I think this creates that sense of safety where an experience may not become traumatic with them, because they have stronger self-belief, they like themselves, they're happy with themselves, they're more secure. Then you feel more empowered to take the action that may be needed, right? So yeah, I would say from prevention perspective, that is something that maybe that could be a help. This cannot happen maybe with an acute trauma where there's a road crash, and how we may kind of react to that is very subjective to the experience that we are having. But more in terms of a chronic trauma, in terms of complex trauma, I think it can really help to start from there if we are talking about like something that can make sure or help you not experience that event as traumatic for yourself.
Okay, wonderful. I think this explanation also kind of helps. So there are different types of trauma. One is the acute one, as you mentioned. Others can be somewhat severe, and I think creating a very safe space for your child, so you ensure their safety in physical aspects, so they don't get this fever, they don't get cold or cough. You explain, keep that safe space for a child. It's equally important to keep the psychological
Absolutely.
safe space as well. And if there is something that has happened with them, they should be free enough to tell you as parent. You should be the first point of contact for
Absolutely.
them, not someone else. So I think that's, as parents, I think calculates a lot, it counts a lot to these experiences.
Yeah,
So
parents, caregivers, all the
Yes.
maybe teachers, like whoever is part of that system, that setup that is there. Yeah, I think that's something that we can do for ourselves, we can do for someone else, and I think that is a good starting point.
Yes, absolutely. So I think this entire session was really wonderful, and a lot of things even for me to understand, since I have been into this subject for a very long time. So thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much for your time and being a part of
For
this.
having me.
Any ending notes that you would like to give, or just a small message to anyone who's hearing this?
I just want anyone who is hearing this to understand that it is okay to experience whatever you're experiencing, to cheer for yourself, to support yourself, and to give yourself the grace that you'll figure it out.
Okay. Yes, that's a wonderful message, ma'am. Thank you.
So thanks, Parul. I just wanted to add that thank you for giving me this platform to share, some of my opinions or some of my methods or what I think could help. I do hope that whoever may listen to it are able to make sense and get some benefit from it or understand things a bit better.